Thanks for tuning in to the Monday Night Love Stream. I'm Dr. Burrows, and basically I'm going to keep this short today in the theme of prioritizing our lives. Whether you're, in your college days, whether you're in your 30s, you're working at home, it's really important to know how to prioritize things that matter to you in your life. And I'm sure if you're anything like me or share the same sort of feeling of that sort of restlessness when you feel like the day's gotten away from you, you didn't get to the things that you wanted to do, and you're not really feeling like grounded and calm and fulfilled, right? Like it can be very frustrating when you're caught in that cycle. So feel free to add some comments or questions in the live chat if you like. I just think that I spoke to someone today and it really touched me, not necessarily in a good way, how poorly he was prioritizing his life. Now, granted, we each have our own things that matter to us, and even if we want to judge how other people live, ultimately it's everyone's decision how they choose to live their lives. And I get that, but there's certain things that are really not as healthy. They don't contribute to our overall health and well-being as we should. The things that are in our power and control in order to adjust, right? But we get so bought into certain things. Like we tell ourselves that we should be doing, working crazy hours, for instance, right? But what happens when you work ridiculous amounts of hours in a day is, you lose sleep, you lose out on quality time with family and friends, you're not able to exercise, you're not able to get some sunlight. Maybe you're just not able to get to the things that you need to get to, and just have some downtime, have some leisure, just take a nap, or, just relax and eat properly and all of those things. So it's really important to be able to figure out the best plan to get all of those things accomplished in your day. Now, not everyone has the luxury of flexibility with their work, but you can work around whatever schedule that you have. It's easier to believe in a lie. Well, lie about what? I'm not sure that I understand what lie you're talking about, but the person that I was talking to was admitting that their work comes before their family. And I just feel for them to really believe that. I think it does a disservice to yourself, right? But you get to determine those things that get prioritized. But the problem is people will really start to convince themselves that they're not changeable, that they can't get a different job, that they can't ask for different hours, that they can't see themselves doing something different or having a different type of lifestyle just by making some very courageous changes, I guess. But once you realize that it's not that uncommon or not as risky as you think to make some changes in your life, then you might start to welcome them more. It's like a slippery slope. It's like, oh my gosh, I just realized how much freedom and autonomy I have to make different changes, like to have choice in my life of what I really focus on and involve myself in. And so even me today, I feel like there are things that I didn't get to because things have been so busy lately, and I don't like that feeling. I don't know about you. I like to feel, there's so much focused work, there's so much downtime, and there's, the things that I have to do, but for me, like the exercise and the sunlight and taking care of myself. And when I don't get to that, everything else starts tumbling down, right? The quality of your productivity and your effort and all those other things really goes down. So I was having another conversation, I think it was yesterday, on a podcast that's hosted by a health group that works with college students or med students. And one of the things that we had touched on was how important it is for youth, around that age, high school graduates, to really get to the bottom of what's important to them. Once you jump into college and university education, it can be too late. You're already on that sort of that rushed pace that you need to be in when you're in college, getting all your classes in and doing all your homework and just going through the process. But if you haven't actually figured out what's important to you, what's your routine, how do you function best, how do you balance your time with self, time with others, doing your hobbies, your sports, anything like that, then you're basically just, there's no structure at all in your day, and then it's very hard to get at anything done. So most people prioritize family, most people prioritize their health and money, but you have to figure out how they fit best together. So whether it's, you working 5 days a week, 9 to 5, or you're working 7 days a week for 4 hours, or if you have like a traditional job, can you work remotely? Can you have flexi time? People are actually being more open to non-traditional hours and circumstances at the job. So I think it would be really helpful to determine if your work is taking away from your personal life. College was tough to manage. Yes, I think most people, they kind of jump in blind and they don't really know, they're not prepared. A lot of people just assume you have to prepare for the classes, but it's being an independent adult and deciding how to take care of yourself and manage all of those things. And my freshman year, I did nothing but study. I got a 4.0, and that wasn't good either. I mean, I'm glad I got a 4.0, but it would have been nice to learn how to balance spending some time meeting people and taking care of myself and my studies. So same with, whether you're an adult or whether you're a college student. These things are really, really important, but a lot of people do not prioritize healthy things. They don't even really plan their days out or their weeks out intentionally at all. So you just end up attaching yourself to the things that are obligatory. So whether that's work or whether that's family demands, you're basically reactive with all the demands that are placed on you, instead of being proactive and determining, well, what is the effect on me when I do this? When I'm constantly at my mother's beck and call, one, does she actually need me all of those times? But, maybe she doesn't. Maybe some of it is just a habit. Maybe it's just a little bit of a dependency. And yes, you still want to be available and comfort and support your family, but perhaps you're making yourself too available when it would help them for you to have some boundaries. Yes, so being able to balance at least some time outside in nature, getting some exercise, that's going to be really important, as well as having some time with people. You don't have to have a whole bunch of social time, but a little bit here and there with the right people is always really good, and making sure that you have some contact, communication with your family if they're far away. But again, it's difficult to know what the right balance is, and it's not static, right? It doesn't have to stay the same forever. You're going to be adjusting all the time depending on what the inputs are, right? If it's raining, it might affect your plan for the day. If you got an urgent phone call, it's going to affect your plan for the day. If someone's sick, if you have to fill in for someone, if gosh, I can't think of all of the possibilities. There's so many, but various things, and it's always like that random, unexpected variable that will throw a wrench in the wheel of your day. And so you have to know how to triage that. One, do you protect that by turning off all your notifications on your phone? Some people refuse to turn off their phone access so that no matter what's happening, they're always reachable. That's not necessarily the best strategy if you want to implement some boundaries. I mean, obviously if you have children and you're not with them, then you want to have that notice if anything is happening, like an emergency. But in general, there's a lot of people that just make themselves that available. So you have to determine the things that you can control to prevent that, and sort of, have that triage system so that you don't get distracted. You can have that focused attention on a particular task for 15 minutes, a half an hour, 3 hours, whatever your stretch of time is. And if you're in an office, it's, is the door closed? Is it open? Do you give someone a notice, a heads up that you're going to be head down and focused for a while, so not to interrupt? Or do you take lunch out? Do you eat lunch at your desk? All these things need to be really, you need to understand the effect that eating at your desk is going to have over the long haul, right? Like you're really not time managing very well if you can't get up and out for at least 15 minutes during your breaks, because it is important to have a little bit of movement, to have a little bit of sunshine, and whether you plan ahead with your meals or not, I mean, it's going to be really important for you to consider the long-term effects of some of those habits, chronic habits that can contribute to your health or not. So anybody else have any ideas of religion could be a priority, like your faith, your church going or belief system. Also, it's weird to say, but during that time I was independent and dependent at the same time. Well, nobody's necessarily supervising you, but I don't know why you were feeling dependent. And so priorities can be tricky and they can change over the course of the time. This is the topic of the day. All of Twitter, really? I wasn't even on Twitter that much because I was very busy. So these things change, right? Like you have maybe a daily task of priorities, and then you have, a weekly thing or a monthly list of go-tos and must-dos. And you have to kind of stay fluid and flexible with it. So you don't want to be too rigid, but you need to have some structure. Yeah, sure, please do. And a lot of people have too much structure or too much fluidity. So you need to have also a balance of the two. And if you have that sort of flexibility with yourself, then you're not going to beat yourself up over not getting to everything in one day. I have my newsletter that I still need to do today. So I had to pick and choose what I wanted to do at 6 p.m. Like my live video or work on my newsletter. I'm like, well, the urgency is here. I don't know if you know that quadrant system, but it's important. If it's urgent, if it's time limited, time specific, then you choose what's the best option, and then you run with it. You don't beat yourself up over it. You don't ruminate over it, and there's always tomorrow. You get to start over again tomorrow. I don't know if it ages me, but I consider it like a Rolodex, like a literal physical Rolodex. People talk about a to-do list and they think very linearly, but the Rolodex is constantly moving. So remember that there's always more. So when you get through something, it's not going to be the end. So remember that so that you can say, I'm just doing this for today. And this is how much I can get through today with a good outcome and still be sane. That's really important for you to end the day sane, feeling grounded. I can look, but it might just be easier for you to Google them as well. I have my own content on time management kind of stuff that I used to do in trainings with companies, but it's pretty generic stuff that you can look at. The system that I used, you can look up Getting Things Done, the GTD system. What I really liked about that was, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it has this 4 levels of categories. So it was, do it, delegate it, drop it, defer it. So yes, you know that? Okay. So GTD, I really liked that. The one thing that I took from that has always stuck with me is if you can do it in 2 minutes or less, do it right away. Don't procrastinate it. So I basically live by that philosophy in regards to my productivity. And it's been helpful because those little things that take 2 minutes that you could just do right away as soon as they come to your mind, they add up and then you forget about them, and then that sort of eats away at your mind, So that's definitely important, but also recognizing if there's a bigger project that you need to break into smaller projects, how to then manage that. And if it has to do with bringing other people in, you're delegating certain things, but then you have to communicate with them and check in and make sure that deadlines are set, and even set with yourself, right? So yeah, time management is part of it, but just just the decision of what you're attending to. There's a YouTube video if you want to look up. I'll actually post it on the bottom when I publish this. But there's one that is about my workflow system, and so I have the bulletin board. I got rid of them when I moved, but basically, you just sort of make some columns, and you have the days of the week and maybe an extra column for weekly or monthly tasks. And you can do this obviously digitally on a spreadsheet or Google Docs. I just really like analog stuff. It really helps me have something tangible to see and hold on to in writing. But it was really helpful to just know what were the things that I'm doing on a daily basis, or at least trying to rotate and get to every day. But given all the right circumstances, some things just we can't control, and we have to roll with it and do the best that we can with what we got. So that does take a lot of resilience in a person's approach and way of being for them to develop those qualities. Yes. Some people really like digital. Who does time management content is Justin. We had that conversation about, I told him I'm very analog. I don't want to do more software programs and spreadsheets. I try to stay away from that as much as possible. But yeah, some people, it depends on your personality. If you prefer that, if it's easier for you, then absolutely do what comes more naturally and easier for you. But there's times when maybe we don't utilize our time very well, when we could be planning, and whether that's Sundays or end of the week, when you're able to reflect on how you did with your previous week and going forward what you want to accomplish or what you have to accomplish in the coming week. And I mean, that's on more of an immediate level of determining what has to be done and prioritizing those obligations, or just the effort that you're going to be expending in your time. But on the macro level, really look at what matters to you the most. What are you prioritizing in your life? I'm going to be traveling in a month. So it's not so much about, yes, the exploring of all these wonderful places is pretty cool. But I've said several times before, the two areas of my life that are my focus and have been for the past year and a bit has been, money, because my business and growing my business so that I feel financially independent and stable and healthy, and my personal life. And so I blended the two together by creating this lifestyle where I'm location independent, I can be with the people I care about, I can have the lifestyle that I want, which is, being more essentialist and not having a whole bunch of stuff, not having a car, being able to walk around in the places that I live, focusing on, certain things that I need, having a gym, having, city life around me where I can engage just on my own if I need to, or you figure out your ideal day, and basically that extends to your ideal life, right? And so things, they have cycles, and you might shift gears every couple of months, but at least you know that these are the most important things, and you're trying to improve on the things that are most important to you, like spending time with family, or taking better care of yourself and being more active, eating better. And if it's career-wise, it's, do you need to study more? Like, is there more that you can do on your own to develop those skills and expand your effectiveness in your chosen area? Or do you need to change areas? Do you want to be a more dependable, reliable person? Do you want to be a better parent? Do you want to focus more on being a better dresser, or going out and being sociable and confident, right? That's a lot of the conversations that I have with people, is how to be more confident and how to meet more people. So if that's your priority, then don't be complaining that you live in an isolated area with not a lot of people, especially your age or a suitable age to date, right? Like, if that's your priority, then you need to make some changes, right? You need to be traveling to other places. You need to be online talking to new people, maybe considering moving, relocating to a new city. That's a lot easier to meet people. So you have to decide what your priorities are. But remember, it's what matters to you most in life. The things that if you don't put your time and effort and attention to, and you neglect them, it deteriorates your quality of life. You don't feel right, you're off, right? Those are the things that matter to you, that you must attend to. And it doesn't matter, the pressure you get from other areas. People are inherently pretty selfish people, like we're just selfish human beings. So people are going to make demands on you, and you're the one that has to put the boundaries down and be decisive about you can or you cannot do whatever it is that they want you to do. So instead of being reactive and just accommodating things, be more intentional and selective with the people, things, and activities that you expend your time on. And that way you will learn a lot more about yourself, but you'll be more authentic because you're doing the things that naturally are important to you. And sometimes that means it's easy, and sometimes that means it's hard, right? Like it might be difficult to do certain things that are important to you, but you want to get better at it, or you want to do it more. And that's definitely something that you can work on, and that's a personal goal to pay attention to, because it's your life. And I don't want to see more people. It's very, very hard for me to hear people that are feeling stuck, and they're basically just doing the same thing day in and day out and never really feeling like they're living their own life. It's just life is happening to them, and they don't have control of everything that they have to do, right? So when that's the case, it's really important to slow down. But some people are just very afraid to do that, because when you have to slow down and you have to be in silence and you have to be with your own thoughts, it can be very overwhelming. And if you realize that you're not in a good place and you don't know what to do, it can be very, very difficult. But it's not necessarily the end. You just need to do your own studying, reach out for support. I can help you if you want, but you can also talk to other people. Like reach out. People DM people all the time if they see similarities or things that just resonate. And as long as you're willing to make that change and change your priorities in your life, then there is hope to have a different experience. So don't give up and keep working at it, but try to align what you're doing, even in your days, with what matters to you. And that's how you prioritize. So thank you for joining me this Monday evening, or afternoon if you're earlier. And I will talk to you soon. Oh, when others don't work with priorities, when the world must end up very chaotic and scary. Yeah, well, you have to have priorities. Otherwise, like I said, life is just happening to you. So have a good night. Thanks for joining me. Ciao.